So 30 years on, it's not going to do me any harm in terms of my MS progression.
Yeah, 20 milligrams would be a very common dose. But one of the other issues is that there's a lot of discussion, particularly in the blogosphere, about statins producing cognitive impairment. It's mostly anecdotal, but you hear lots of stories about people who say their brain goes foggy when they take statins and it improves as soon as they stop.
Okay. And just continuing the vitamin D discussion, just a personal experience. My reading was 47 when I first had it tested. I'm on 5,000 units a day, which I think is the standard advocated by a well-known advocate. And my current level, well, I haven't had a test for a long time because getting a vitamin D test is very difficult, but my first test after a period of dosage was up to 150, which is at the level that that's being advocated as being a target level. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, for those of you that are on the George Jelinek's OMS program, I'm following his lifestyle program, and he currently recommends 70,000 IUs of vitamin D a week. My current levels are 225. My doctor says that's almost toxicity, but Jelinek says, no way, it's fine, keep going at that level. I'm getting mixed messages from my two caregivers. I would like your thoughts on that.
I would ask Dr. Jelinek what's his evidence that that level's safe.
I think he's got a lot of evidence.
I think you'll find he doesn't have much evidence.
Okay.
It's easy to say it's safe, fine, go ahead, but how many hundreds of people has he followed with levels of that sort? That's the question. Yeah, he may have it, but and it may be safe, but I don't think anyone can say. There just isn't the evidence. My inclination would be to back off a little. So if you have it within the upper normal range, I would think that should be fine. And the evidence that it's really good for you from the MS point of view is lacking also. That's the problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got one more, have we? Sorry. Didn't see your hand.
Yeah, just one last question. Getting back to the issue with Pharmac, we saw a number of about 680 patients there approved for the treatment at the moment. So have you got any idea about the budget as it is now, and how that figure might then compare to what we've got now?
Yeah, I think when I last checked, they were spending about $6.5 million a year on the old program. And the new one is going to be substantially higher than that, maybe twice as high. So they've put a substantial extra amount of money into the treatment.
I had a figure of 9.8 million in my head, but maybe I think that's what they told us.
That they expect to pay?
That was what they were expecting to pay, but I think there was certain wisdom from MS clinicians and others around the country that it'd actually be much more than that.
Yeah, I think there've been more people approved to start treatment than they were expecting.
Andy, do you have those figures as to, in the first 6 months,
no,
how many people?
No. It is a substantial number.
When Amanda gets to open her emails for the last 2 weeks, because she's been away from the office, there's one from me asking her to ask Pharmac for the numbers by DHB, which I think would be interesting. Yeah. So we might have that information in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Part of the problem is that there are a number of approvals, of course, but there are delays in getting started on treatment. Partly because of the infusion facilities. We have to do them in day stay, and they have to fit in around all the other patients having treatment in day stay. And the other is the fingolimod, which you have to sit in hospital for 6 hours when you have your first dose. So arranging for, and they have to be monitored and have access to cardiac support if something goes wrong. So although these are very rare risks, this process takes a lot of organisation. So people end up in clusters sitting in day stay, chatting to one another for 6 hours, hoping that their pulse rate's not going to go down.
I think that was one of the other things that surprised us, was that Pharmac had gone through this long 2-year process, or even longer, to approve these drugs, but hadn't talked to the DHBs, hadn't talked to the radiologists about what the impact of an approval was. And so basically the decision was made, I think, in October, and then everybody started scrambling around saying, well, how on earth are we going to meet that? And some of the DHBs, I think, are only just now starting to realise the impact. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to 2 o'clock, and we are keen to finish on time to let you get away for other activities. Just want to thank Ernie.